Pranay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Srikanth, congratulations
Thank you.
on being awarded the Young Alumni Achievers Award.
Thank you.
It's a matter of pride for the institute to see the kind of achievements that you've made, and it's great to have you both on campus. Um, so, when was the last time you guys were here on campus?
I think about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I've been on campus regularly from 2002 or 3 onwards. So did a few guest lectures on entrepreneurship class that Professor Sunil Handa used to run. I've been here for campus placements in 2005, 6, I think then 15. I'm thinking maybe 16 or maybe was the last time I was here.
Me, the last time I was here was 2013 December, which was our 15-year reunion.
Yeah.
Since graduating, I've been on campus only twice.
Okay.
I was here for the 99 Chaos and just got here for Chaos, and coincidentally, many members of our band were here. So we actually impromptu performed the next day. Remember opening for Parikrama. And then we were here, I was here for the 2000 Talent Night, and then 2013 for the reunion.
Well, always great to have you guys.
It's very good to be back here. Yeah.
So you guys started Fractal in 2000, right?
Right, yeah.
And so just about a year and a half after graduation. So did you guys see the opportunity as vividly as it appears now? Did you guys see it back then as vividly? Because right now, I mean, data analytics, AI is the big thing, and everybody knows about it. Everybody knows that's where the future is. But did you guys really, at the back of your minds, you know that this is it?
And look, it would be nice to claim that we were prophetic. I would love to claim that, but it's not the case. I think there was no industry called the analytics or AI industry. I think back when I was doing my engineering, I remember neural networks were the in thing, and we were doing some very interesting fingerprint recognition, other kinds of things. And the world of AI was experiencing a winter. Because I mean it was really bad time for being an AI professional, because those were the days of expert systems where we would basically configure a whole host of rules. Yes, IBM's Deep Blue defeated Kasparov at that time, but it was basically somebody wrote up 10,000 different rules and ways to evaluate a board position every single move, right? And it would do brute force computation. So it was that world. So when we started Fractal, our thought was, how can we use math to help companies make money? That was how we defined it. We didn't think of it as analytics and AI. But very soon we realized that enterprises had tons and tons of data, and finding those patterns in data and helping companies make decisions is a very important thing. We didn't know how we'll make money, but we knew that it was a very important thing. So in some ways we could claim that yes, we could see the world changing, and it took a long time for the world to really change. And I would anyway advise entrepreneurs never to take that chance of doing something way ahead of the curve, because survival is at risk. But I think we somehow survived, and I think that has been a great source of positive feeling right now, because I think now everybody thinks that we had seen it coming and we were prophetic, so it is good.
Yeah. No, so likewise, I don't think that I had any vision that this is going to be this big. In fact, the first venture that we started was not even an analytics venture. It was a .com with the idea of helping consumers do better online shopping and then better purchasing decisions. And Srikanth saying being ahead of time is not such a good thing. So we were trying to advise consumers, and there wasn't even any e-commerce then, right? So that venture, we folded that within 6 months, and then said, okay, what do we do now? We had the option of going back to the corporate world, but we pivoted around this idea of applying analytics and mathematics to business. I think the nature of the problems that we're solving, they continue to be similar, or sort of evolve only at the rate at which the industry is sort of evolving. But a lot of the methods and the ability to deal with it is changing because of computation and data storage and all of that. And Srikanth saying it was a bad time for AI in the early 2000s. It was also driven by the fact that it was not computationally possible to implement those techniques as well. But now it's a very different world.
It's been an interesting journey, hasn't it? And so what from the day you guys thought of becoming an entrepreneur to today? And how would you describe it?
I think when we started Fractal, we were this was we had spent just 2 years, under 2 years working in companies, so we had no savings. I had convinced my parents that I would take an educational loan, so I had an educational loan that I was paying for, and we had to build some capital to start Fractal. And for the first year, we decided that we can't take any salaries. I mean, we didn't have any money, and so it was a very tough beginning in many ways. And I think we were supremely arrogant because we had great management degrees. So we thought we were, and I think entrepreneurship is a great exercise in ego destruction. It really tells you and shows you your right place. And I think if you can come out of that, I think you can really build something. I think for me the biggest learning over these years has been the ego destruction, and then it's about leading, but it's actually about creating followership. Actually building a great place to work is about actually getting great talent and committing them to a cause that we all believe in. And I think that's something that I have learned over these years, and I think now we are in a place where we know we can take this from where we are to $1 billion in revenue. And so it is a very different place, a very exciting place. We have a lot of capital right now. We really struggled to raise capital because I think venture capital and private equity were very new back when we started. It was very different. Today I think there's much greater risk appetite across venture capital and private equity. I think it's much easier to raise capital for a startup. So in some ways we created that world, because part of the creation of that world, so it feels very good. And the company is in a very different place, but the journey has been a journey of understanding oneself, ability to lead other people, and basically ego destruction.
And yeah.
So the start was very difficult, as Srikanth said. In fact, I remember we were all we needed to pull together some capital. I think back in it was 2000. Yeah, 2000. We needed to pull together about 2 lakh rupees each, and I didn't even have that money. So in fact, I borrowed a large chunk of it from my friends. Right, and I had just got married as well about 3 or 4 months before we started this venture. So it was very tough, and as Srikanth said, there's a lot of ego destruction along the way. You also realize that as an entrepreneur, many people say, "Oh, I want to do my own stuff. I want to be master of my own destiny or whatever." It is true at a very high level, but frankly, as an entrepreneur, you're serving everybody. Okay, till you get to a certain scale and size, you're serving everybody, from the clients to the people that you want to get on board, right? Because who wants to join you? So you're just serving everybody, and it is very humbling. But when you see the enterprise taking a life of its own, when you see that entire organization, it's a child and it's now growing and it's becoming its own self. That is very gratifying. So it is very fulfilling. And one of the things that I think it was Steve Jobs who said that. I think he said that the biggest difference between successful entrepreneurship or venture versus not successful is merely persistence, right? So you have to be at it at points when it makes no sense to be at it. You don't really see that what is the way in which this will convert into a meaningful return, but it's just belief and the desire to get it done, so you stay at it. The truth, however, is that even persistence is no guarantee of success, right? And that's the whole thing, and that's the real measure of the risk that you're taking.
And along the way, you made some interesting choices, also interesting moves. You've moved into the behavioral science segment as well, right? With the acquisition of Final Mile, right? And is that a growing segment for you?
So right from the very beginning, we were interested in two things: math, and the other dimension was consumer behavior. And we were very early on. I remember in 2001, when we had this worldwide recession, but an India recession as well. We were seeing that consumers were changing their buying habits. So if you're a Unilever and you were looking at people not buying surf anymore but buying ghadi or other detergents, we were trying to figure out what is going on. Are people reducing the frequency of consumption? Are they downgrading the categories? In terms of the level of brand, are they becoming more promotion sensitive? So we are trying to understand from data and helping companies tackle the recession in a different way and improve their overall revenues and so on. And that time we realized that this is all about consumer psychology, understanding the consumers, etc. So consumer behavior and understanding human behavior broadly has been part of Fractal through and through. And when we think of Fractal as powering every human decision in the enterprise, that's how Fractal's vision is, to power every human decision. We should remember that 99% of all decisions are not rational, they're irrational, they're emotional. And to understand human behavior, therefore, is critical in actually enabling better decision making. So that's been part of Fractal. But recently, what we have found is that there's been tremendous progress on understanding human behavior, especially from the lens of neuroscience, cognitive neuroscience. And therefore, when we acquired Final Mile, the idea was, how do we incorporate that deeper into the way we help companies make better decisions? So this is part of our overall thinking, that if you want to solve very big problems in enterprises, you certainly need great smart algorithms. You want to build intelligence through algorithms. That's something that Fractal has been doing all along. But we have to make those algorithms work in the enterprises that we serve. Therefore, we have to connect all the data pipelines of the company so that the decisions can flow through. And let's say you want to make a decision on whether you give somebody a loan at the point of sale. That is, therefore, all the data has to flow through and say yes or no to that loan. Or if you want to make another decision on whether it's a fraudulent transaction or not, you have to make that in real time. So the data pipelines have to connect in real time. And the third dimension is of design, and that's where we bring in human behavior. Right? Final Mile, the acquisition we made, was around saying, how do we bring in design into the way we put these systems together? Humans and machines have to effectively work together. If we don't understand humans enough, we won't be able to build the machines that understand humans and actually interface with humans correctly. I'll give you one example. You saw how the human versus machine is playing out in the Boeing 737 MAX crash that happened recently, right? The machine now basically is taking over from the human and actually making a decision of saying, okay, this plane has to go up, and getting the nose up, and it's actually fighting the human being. So it's a failure of design that the machine is taking over from the human and not letting the human control. That interface has been poorly designed, and therefore you're seeing the crash of two crashes that have happened and subsequent grounding of all the 737 MAX. In general, humans and machines, we have to find a better way of working together. And Final Mile and behavioral sciences is a way to master that part of what Fractal does.
So in a sense, this actually is an enabler for the other segments that you are in as well.
So our recipe is AI engineering and design. We think we can solve big problems at the world level if you bring in AI engineering and design. So if you think of tuberculosis, right, we try to solve tuberculosis through better diagnostics, through our X-ray imaging, deep learning through X-ray imaging that we do. But we also know that just better diagnostics is not enough to cure TB. What people do with TB is that they start taking medicines, and as soon as the symptoms go away, they stop. This causes not only problems for them, they can develop more multi-drug resistant and extremely drug resistant versions of TB, but it also infects other people and spreads the disease. So just by having better diagnostics, we will not cure TB or get the world rid of TB, right? Help the world get rid of TB. So what we have to do is to also work on human behavior. So any big problem you have to solve, we have to crack the human behavior aspect of it, and that's why Final Mile makes sense.
No, I think there's not anything more to add to that. The only thing I'll say is that I remember even back in 2007, Srikanth was telling us that we should hire some behavioral sciences people, behavioral economics and all of that. And so I think that thought was there in his head even 10, 11 years before we acquired Final Mile.
So this analytics market is, this outsourcing market is set to grow with a CAGR of 25.8% in the period of 2019 to 2027. So what are the steps that Fractal is taking to position itself to take advantage of this growth?
The first idea here is that, like you said, it's growing at 25%, but at a rapid rate, and the potential to create value here for our clients, by helping them to deliver better outcomes to their customers, to their employees, and then eventually to their shareholders. We think that opportunity is huge. We have told ourselves that we want to create $1 billion of value for every client that we work with. And to do that, we need to solve their most important problems. We need to solve them at scale. And that's where this idea of AI, engineering and design, comes together. AI is the ability to create these algorithms which can perform a wide range of cognitive tasks. Since these algorithms need a lot of data, engineering is the ability to piece together all that data and feed data into those algorithms and insights back out of those algorithms into places where people make decisions. And design is the notion that we've got to make all of this work with humans, that the people that are going to use the solution have to be at the center of the solution. So we are building our capabilities along all the three dimensions and also bringing them together to be able to solve these problems at scale. That is the way in which we are preparing ourselves. Analytics or AI, that's always been at the center of what we do. So we have continued to invest in that over the years, and we believe that we are very good at that. There is tremendous room to grow, but that's an area that's always been an area of strength for us. Over the last couple of years, we've added engineering, and we think that that is going to be a very, very large portion of this entire puzzle. And then, of course, we acquired design capabilities through Final Mile, and we continue to build those capabilities over there. So that's sort of how we're preparing ourselves, and also creating the context of our clients and what are the key issues for our clients, and how do we be there to really help them solve things that make a big impact for them and for their customers.
If I could add, you said 25% growth rate. I also think that the entire technology industry, right? I mean, all things tech, people have spent 20, 30 years building their tech infrastructure across companies. And why did we do all that? Of course, to smoothly enable business to function. But also, in that process, we've generated tons and tons of data. And now the ROI of all the technology comes through using AI to make better decisions. So therefore, the entire technology industry in some ways is shifting towards analytics and AI. So it's a vast area for us. That 25% is that, but I think it may be even higher. And Fractal is sort of set up to grow at 40 to 50% every year for the next few years. So we are within that. We're certainly growing very rapidly because we have a lot of room to grow, because I think we have the entire technology budget of the world potentially that we could address. Because what are companies trying to do today? They're essentially are trying to solve 5 kind of challenges, right? They're all in the so-called digital transformation area, right? I mean, everybody's trying to see how can I wire myself for the digital world. What does that mean? I mean, it's a lot of mumbo jumbo if you look at it, but if you cut through the clutter, there are only 5 things, in my opinion, which are there. One is, how do I make better executive decisions in the company? How do I use data to drive better executive decisions? So how can everybody in the organization be more data driven? That's one. 2, we are trying to get better, serve our consumers better. Whoever my customers are, consumers are, how can I understand them better? How can I personalize my offering for them? How can I serve them better? That's the second one, through the digital economy. 3, we are trying to make better products faster. We are saying, how can I launch better products? I mean, how can I cut my R&D cycle? How can I increase the success rate of any innovation that I bring to the table? That's 3. 4, I'm trying to reduce inefficiencies and all kinds of waste in my organization. Part of AI is also automating things, right? Improving productivity, improving the effectiveness of marketing. I'm spending all these billions of dollars on marketing. Can I spend them on the right avenues so that I can increase effectiveness? How can I reduce all kinds of wasted expenses that I have? That's 4. And finally, the 5th and most critical ones for some of the largest companies we work with is, how do we thwart competition? Because they're all trying to secure their future. If I'm extraordinarily successful, I'm a Fortune 100 company, I'm most worried about the startups who are coming up and really destroying my business model completely, right? So it's about protecting the future. So these are the 5 dimensions of digital transformation for most companies. And AI and analytics are critical to all these 5. And that's where we think really there's a whole world that we can address. And we can solve these big problems at scale.
And the recent infusion of funds definitely will help you along the way, right? And you mentioned elsewhere as well that you want to use that $200 million that you've received from Apex funds to further your goals in in terms of organic as well as both inorganic growth. But is there a particular focus area there, or how do you plan to go?
Right. So certainly we are growing organically, and we continue to invest in geographical, expansion, as well as expanding our sales force, and are increasing our brand presence across the world. So certainly there's an investment in organic growth that Fractal is making, and we certainly can accelerate that growth even beyond where we are right now. On the inorganic front, we see specifically what we're looking at is, like we said, the AI engineering design, three parts of our problem solving. We're certainly looking to see if there are very solid companies in any of the three dimensions. We are happy to bring them in because we think we have the formula for scaling solving problems at scale, and we can use talent and capabilities in the engineering and design space specifically, but also in the AI space. So we're looking for companies of that kind. They can be anywhere in the world, but today we prefer companies that are either they're headquartered somewhere where we are already there, let's say US or India or UK, some of these geographies where we are already there, because cultural integration of the inorganic acquisitions is a very hard problem. As we have discovered, it's not easy, and we are still learning how to integrate companies and actually build jointly and go to the $1 billion jointly. So therefore, we are currently focused on companies that are already in our same zip code, so that we can integrate them faster. But that's just one of the lenses that we have right now. We might change that soon, but today we are looking at more focused acquisitions in the AI engineering and design spaces that are headquartered in countries and cities where we're located.
On the AI front, you have initiatives within Fractal like Cure and Cuddle and Trial Run. Which one do you is seeing more traction?
One of the areas where we're seeing significant traction is Cure.ai, which is a healthcare radiology investment. We are solving many problems, but two problems I'd like to quickly talk about. One is on tuberculosis and chest X-rays in general. So worldwide, there are 500 million chest X-rays that are produced every year. And unfortunately, there's a 23% error rate in reading X-rays, because doctors have so much going on, right? And X-rays are, they don't have time for X-rays. Radiologists and doctors really look at them for a few seconds at best. So they miss out a lot of important findings on an X-ray because they don't have time. What Cure's algorithms do is they find out 18 different abnormalities in a chest X-ray in a split second. So now you have that report. Now the doctors are going to look at that instead of looking at the chest X-ray, so they make fewer errors. We're certainly not trying to replace doctors or radiologists. They're absolutely critical for care and for making the right decisions. But we can reduce the error rate. We can augment the decision making through algorithms from Cure. Similarly, we have a head CT scan product, which is essentially in an emergency situation. Let's say 2 a.m. in the night in a trauma center or casualty of a major hospital. If a patient comes in with some kind of symptoms, we have to find out if it's a bleed or it's a clot, something like that. So sometimes radiologists are not present and doctors are waiting for radiologists to come in. So what we do is this head CT scan product can actually quickly diagnose the 8 different abnormalities in a CT scan, and we can give the right treatment. It can be life-saving, because every second millions of cells are dying in the brain if there's a clot or a bleed, and we have to arresting, and they're dead forever. So the faster we are able to address a patient, the better it is. So AI is going to be very helpful. So we are seeing a tremendous amount of traction. We've got Central European approval for these solutions and these algorithms. We are in the FDA approval cycle for some of these solutions. So we are seeing that it is being used for diagnosing TB. So there's a lot of action that is going on vis-a-vis Cures. It's doing extremely well. And I'll let Pranay talk about Cuddle, which is also doing quite well.
Yeah. So the idea behind Cuddle, the simplest way to put it is think of it as Google for your enterprise data. You have several data sources within the organization, and as senior management or anyone that's charged with making executive decisions, you have very scarce attention and scarce time to really be able to analyze and understand that data. So Cuddle understands you as a business professional, understands what's relevant to you, and then starts proactively providing you information and insights around that area. So if you are a sales manager for a region, it'll understand, what are the important metrics for you, what things you care about, sales growth, sales force performance and stuff like that. I'll start proactively providing you that information. And that same idea can be replicated across any number of business areas. It could be supply chain, it could be in an insurance business, claims processing, in a telecom business, it could be customer experience. And that is the idea behind that. So we have collected vast amounts of data as a society, as businesses. Our ability to derive insight from that and then to act on that is very limited by our own capability as well as time. And Cuddle really comes in that space. The other fantastic thing about Cuddle is that you don't need to have any technology capabilities as an individual to use it. You can ask questions in natural language. You can type questions and you can talk to the application and literally just say, okay, what's been my performance? And that's all that you need to say, and it will bring up information and insights relevant to you. It's really powering managers to make faster and more accurate decisions.
So we talk of management by exception. So that's essentially what it does. It tells you exactly what are the exceptional things that are happening in your business that you need to pay attention to. Otherwise, there's too much going on, too little time for most executives in organizations.
So on the technology side, there's interesting stuff happening. But what do you do on the business side? How are you gearing up to sort of deal with the upcoming challenges in the industry? I mean, there could be challenges of price competition and shortage of skilled manpower, and these could, even force unbundling of some of the services and some of the things that you offer as products. I mean, how are you dealing with that challenge, and how are you positioning yourself to take care of these challenges?
So I mean, like you probably heard the story about selling shoes in Africa, right? I mean, we are in that kind of a world. There's just nobody is wearing shoes right now, and the whole market is available for us to tackle. Yes, there's certainly competition, but it's such a vast space. Like we never run into them as often. I think so. We are our biggest hindrance to success. And I think the more we are able to go and talking to clients, and we are seeing no issue in actually in any hyper competition of any kind. Certainly, the point you bring about talent is very important. There has been a challenge around talent across the globe as far as AI and analytics is concerned. And one way we have approached this is we've said, look, let's just get the best of the best. And they don't have to know anything in AI and analytics. If they have a good math background, an engineering background, economics, statistics background, or even business background, and they have raw intellect and the right attitude. Very important to find people of the right attitude, right attitude, right intellect. We can teach everything else, and very quickly the environment that we've created, Fractal, and thanks to our clients and our very well established team, is that people come in and start working in that environment. They learn very quickly. There's an apprenticeship model within the company where everybody's learning very quickly with each other, and within a few months, and with the very structured, rigorous induction program of 6 weeks that we learn, where we teach them a lot of the things. And once they start looking and working on some engagements and start interacting with clients, they learn very, very quickly, because they bring in the core skills of the capability to think and the raw intellect that is required, and the attitude to serve, because we are about serving clients and solving their problems. So we need people with humility and great intellect, and that's a rare combination. But when we find that combination, we can teach everything else to them. So talent we have been fortunate on that front, and right from the beginning, like we were a very small startup, like zero hired people, and then but we're still insistent on hiring the best of the best, and that has served us really well, because when you have an A team, it tends to hire more A players in the team. So we've been very fortunate to have that at Fractal.
So what's the future of AI and ML powered analytics, deploying that at scale? So how is that? What's the future of that? How do you see things are going?
So the way we vision it is that AI will all be in the background. AI, engineering, design, everything will be in the background. What will happen is that at the right time you'll make the right decisions, right? So in some ways, on the cloud, all the data is flowing through. The algorithms are computing what's right, what needs to be done, and it's getting powered at the point of decision making, right? So AI, more and more AI will hide away in the background. Today, if for example, your cameras do a much better job of capturing nighttime pictures. Why is it happening? It's because some AI algorithms are doing a great job of actually improving the resolution of the pictures. They're taking, when you're shaking the camera, it takes multiple pictures and it's able to get all those pictures together and increase the fidelity of the pictures that you actually see. And AI is working. You don't care. You just know that, okay, so I have a better camera, right? So AI will hide away in the background. And it's just that world will become easier place to live. It'll be a happier place to live. And that's what we see, that it should just completely uh, on the cloud, in real time, working behind the scenes, and just making our entire experience of the world so much better. That's really where we think it should go, and that's what Fractal is trying to build with its clients.
And are governments and public systems ready for this?
So there is a lot of conversation, at least in the US and in Europe, around this topic. The US government has now released at least 2 task force reports on this topic, and they're viewing it as a very important economic, social, geopolitical phenomenon. Economic for obvious reasons, as Srikanth was mentioning, AI is going to be in everything. It's going to be infused, and it has the ability to unlock a lot of value and make life better for all of us. And as I said, we've been using AI for a while now, right? The Amazon search, the Google search, your cell phone, all of that's got AI. Just that now is being spoken about in the context of a lot of different things. So that's one. How will AI be used to create better outcomes? The second is from a social standpoint. I think governments are very conscious of this now, that there is a risk, or there is at least a threat right now, that what if AI leads to jobless growth? There is a possibility of that. Though our history has been that every time there's been new technology, we've had that threat, but that technology has eventually created more jobs. Right? At this point of time, we are employing more people than ever in the history of humankind, and we still have the most amount of technology that we've ever had. However, I mean, the governments are thinking about that. Um, and then there is also this whole question of how it plays into national security and defense, things such as cyber attacks and interference in the democratic process and all of that kind of stuff. So certainly in the West, we see a lot of conversation around that. Are governments ready for it? I think that the private enterprises are way ahead of the government, so the government will have to do some serious catching up. Though there is serious talk around how the tech enterprises are becoming monopolistic, and what needs to be done to sort of ensure that this growth in AI does not curb democracy and people's basic rights, which the government and our society sort of guarantees. So I think there is work to be done over there, but the good news is that at least the governments are thinking about it, and they've started work on that front.
So a couple of years ago, Vladimir Putin said that whoever wins the AI war will win the world. Right? He is very clear. I think China is investing significantly behind AI. So Chinese technology today, government uses technology where they can identify one face amongst 50,000 people in a crowd, seeing who, and identify that person and arrest him or her if they're a criminal or something like that. They have developed this kind of technology. So US has issued, like Pranay has mentioned, a bunch of reports around that. When Obama White House, before they left office, they released a big report on AI. And Indian government has released a report on AI. Niti Aayog has released a report on AI. Indian government also constituted a task force on defense, AI and defense, which I was part of. We submitted a report last year to the government, which they've been implementing some of those findings and recommendations. So I think there's clear understanding that it is a very big change, and if whoever wins this race is going to control the world. So you can see that playing out in the 5G fight that's happening between US and China right now with Huawei and the US government. It is underlying that, because one of the things that 5G will do is to increase the data speeds by 1,000 times. So many things that were impossible will completely change, in the new world. So there is that fear and there's anticipation and there's a big fight that's about to ensue. Autonomous weapons is another place where it's extremely dangerous. The next round of weapons will be completely autonomous. They will be very precise, and they'll be completely controlled by AI without human intervention. That's possible to get into that place, and it's a very scary world to live in if that's the case. So our countries doing that, our economies doing that, they are actually investing. We won't know where they're investing. It's not public information where they're investing in right now. But certainly China may be ahead of rest of the world. Russia may be doing a lot. America, and then UK, Canada. Those are maybe somewhere in India is also playing in that space. So that's happening. I would say there are 4 things that are critical for any government to look at from the lens of AI. One, we have to prepare the world for AI. Right? That means that because AI will change the nature of work, the future of work, and it will mean reskilling population, etc. We have to prepare. Right? We have to, but before that, we have to also facilitate the rise of AI, especially facilitate the growth of startups in every country, and create this collaboration between business and government so that we can facilitate the rise of AI. Then leverage AI for people's good. Right? AI has to be used. Governments have more data than anybody else. Right? And finally, we have to also basically you have to also sort of get the world ready to in the world of AI. Right? So governments have to do a lot of work in the world of AI to create the future that's actually where humankind actually prospers. So there's a lot of work that's ahead of that's there for the government. Is everybody doing that, investing? I think that realization is coming in, but it also takes time for things to get implemented. And we don't know what the advanced economies are doing. They're doing a lot of work that is actually hidden from public sight.
So in the Indian context, how can partnerships with academia be leveraged to answer some of the questions that the industry is grappling with, and help the industry create more IP as well?
Right. I think there is what has happened in AI is that somehow the industry even leapfrogged ahead of academia, especially in some of the latest research and greatest research that's happening in AI in the, let's say, between 2005 and 2015 happened in the industry, not in the academia, interestingly enough, because some of these companies have become so large that they can build and own their own faculty of researchers. And so the likes of Google, Microsoft went to various campuses around the world and just hired the team en masse. Right? The professors, everybody just moved lock, stock and barrel. And they were told that you can do 50% time on AI research and 50% time helping us leverage AI. And by the way, here's millions of dollars of paychecks. Right?
The other reason for that is also that the developments in this field now require access to that huge amount of data.
Exactly.
And they require access to this massive computational facilities.
Yes.
And both are more easily available with corporate than with the institutions.
The famous CAT paper that Google released in 2012, which is about finding, letting algorithms find out, search YouTube and figure out and understand this thing that, okay, why are there so many cats on YouTube, right? So that there's a beautiful paper that was released in 2012, and they had 10,000 servers, to mine that data, right? It's very, like Pranay rightly mentioned, that kind of access to data and that kind of access to scaled computation is not there in the academia. So there's a lot of research happening, but academia has caught up now, and I think some very interesting work is happening on the academia as well. So that partnership is very vital to progress the world of AI. Some of the models are still evolving as to how that partnership should work, especially when access to data and some of the academia likes to publish, and some of the private industry might not want to publish because of competitive reasons. Thankfully, in the world of AI, there's been more sharing and publishing than any other industry so far. People have been keen to publish their results. Even at Cure.ai, everything that all the cutting edge work we're doing, we've been publishing, writing papers, published in Lancet and other journals. So there's more collaboration. Therefore, the academia and business interactions is a little bit more feasible. And that model of, okay, here's enough research so that we can tell the world, and here's some of the very cutting edge research that we'll use it to power our products. That I think is beginning to work out.
I'm very happy to see where Fractal is today and the role that it is playing in shaping the industry worldwide and in India. And congratulations again to both of you for
Thank
the
you.
award.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
nice to meet you.
Pleasure speaking.